Where's the important stuff happening? Finn Livingston? Greetings from the center of the universe. Oh. Yeah. Don't forget the Solstice Parade, Saturday at 2 p.m. Is this the Fremont Solstice Parade? Cool, Finn. Thanks for the info. Okay. Finn comes in to plug another event. That's okay. We allow that here. Especially when it's Tuesday. The day that time forgot. Speaking of forgetting. I left the fireworks over on in the other area. Poetry break. I left them over there in the old location. Back in the old studio. Yeah. Studio 1A. This is Studio 1B. I don't know. Welcome aboard to this thing that we call the Poetry Break, where I read poetry because I love poetry and I want to be a poetry evangelist. I want to spread the words. That's what I want to do. I want to spread the words. Oh, there's Bill Woolen. Okay, I can't read that comment. As soon as I turn on that, wait, I should try my close-up glasses. You don't mind if I switch glasses in the middle of... Oh my goodness. Yeah. I still have to do like this to read the... I don't know why. Maybe I'm just looking at my own nostrils. I don't know. It's not clear to me. Like nothing else. Speaking of things that are unclear, a mystery mug has arrived this week with an Emily Dickinson quote on it. And I thought to myself, wow, I wonder if this could be just some kind of a random occurrence. Like maybe everyone in the neighborhood got one. Did you guys get one? Anybody else get one? So we're searching high and low to find out who sent the mysterious mystery mug. Speaking of mystery mugs, it's the mug with a hand attached to it. What would life be without a little poetry? See, another mystery mug. Now this one was addressed to the hand itself. Ooh, hand. What is that luscious fragrance? Don't spill your, whatever you got, your mystery beverage there. I guess maybe it's still empty. Anyway, so 2 mystery mugs have come in this week. Rochelle. Not me. I'd love one, though. Yeah, that's a nice one. Well, you probably like the hands one better. This one, but the thing about this one is that it's ambidextrous. Same quote on both sides. See, the hand mug is right-handed only. Yeah, that's the deal. Oh, Rick Lewis is in the house. Hey, Rick. Welcome aboard, sir. All right. So today has been a day of, I don't know, should I be depressed? I got my test results from the thing. I went in for a test, invasive testing, to try and figure out it's not carpal tunnel. So, which means they don't know what it is. So, got to keep investigating to see what's going on with the hands. But it's not carpal tunnel. They did find out that my problem I'm having in my left leg and foot is related to my L4, L5 vertebra. Yes, I've also been alerted to some issues in my cervical spine. So, let's go, people. Plus, I got 6 stitches right here. And doesn't this look like an elderly person's kind of bruising? That's like elderly bruising. Got 6 stitches there from a little melanoma scare. So we're firing on all cylinders is what I'm saying. It's been one of those days where doctors and things, medical things, just kind of make you feel like, what, do I really even own this thing anymore? Or am I just, coming up on the end of my lease? Who knows? But poetry will save us. Poetry will save us. The hand sent in a poet I'd never heard of, another poet I've never heard of. The poet's name is Jeannette Encinias. Jeannette Encinias. And a couple of really good poems here. This one is Beneath the Sweater and the Skin. Let's see. My sweet William, this is what the hand wrote. My sweet William, when you said last week that you were hoping to read poetry by women, this poem was tugging at the back of my mind, but I couldn't come up with it in time. I found it. Here we go. It's called Beneath the Sweater and the Skin by Jeannette Encinias. How many years of beauty do I have left? She asks me. How many more do you want? Here is 34. Here is 50. When you are 80 years old and your beauty rises in ways your cells cannot even imagine now, and your wild bones grow luminous and ripe, having carried the weight of a passionate life, when your hair is aflame with winter, and you have decades of learning and leaving and loving sewn into the corners of your eyes, and your children come home to find their own history on your face. When you know what it feels like to fail ferociously and have gained the capacity to rise and rise and rise again. When you can make your tea on a quiet and ridiculously lonely afternoon and still have a song in your heart, queen owl wings beating beneath the cotton of your sweater. Because your beauty began there, beneath the sweater and the skin. Remember? This is when I will take you into my arms and coo, you brave and glorious thing. You've come so far. I see you. Your beauty is breathtaking. Jeannette Encinias. Yes. One more from Jeannette. This is called Don't Abandon Yourself. News coming in from the front. Val Sanford. Hello, Val. Hello, Val Sanford. Okay, one more from Jeannette Encinias. Don't abandon yourself, it's called. Not when you're sick. Not when you're tired. Not when you've lost the thread, the thought, or the thing you thought defined you. You will die many times in one life and create yourself anew. This is natural. This is a gift. I've died a few times now here in this world. The person I was, gone. Throw that older skin into the water. Give it to the sky. Step into what wants to emerge now. Nothing can hold you back when you are willing to be yourself. Don't abandon yourself. Jeannette Encinias is that poet's name. Be looking for more of that kind of stuff. What do you say? Yeah. Okay, Mr. Theo from the Couth Buzzard, another Mr. Reliable, who is determined to introduce me to poets I've never heard of before. This week it is Yuliya Musakovska. Yuliya Musakovska, another Ukrainian poet. She's an award-winning poet, translator, and member of the PEN Ukraine Association. She's the author of 5 poetry collections in Ukrainian, most recently The God of Freedom from 2021. Her poems have been translated into several languages, including English, German, Spanish, Italian, Polish, Lithuanian, Bulgarian, Estonian, Chinese, and Hebrew. Yuliya Musakovska. There's a picture of her. Yuliya Musakovska. That's her name. I should have shown you a picture of Jeannette Encinias, too. There's Jeannette Encinias. There's the spelling of her name. Jeannette Encinias. My work is about connection, real and meaningful connection. It's nice. Jeannette Encinias. So, Yuliya Musakovska. These are all poems written since the war started in the Ukraine. The first one is called Words. Hey, Janine Boggs, you're just in time. Words. Who said that words have no value now? Our words that are being written in the air with the incandescent iron of breath that strike like clotted blood on pale lips are cutting into the soil under our feet, settling on our clothes and shoes like dust from ruined homes. Our words are stretching to those dear to us, to everyone who is scattered around the country's map with bullet holes in it, along the strong connecting wires attached to the heart, along the tight ropes of lasting together. How much we can love as one, how much we can hate. The words we put into a backpack just before leaving. The words we grab to maintain who knows what kind of balance when the ground is kicked out from under our feet like an unsteady stool. The words we pass to a gaping wound. The torn, tender belly of the teenage girl. Safety. Our words, hard and swollen with rage, black from grief, like the concrete covering of an old bomb shelter. There is nothing more durable, nothing less fleeting. That's from March 12th of this year. This one's called Safe Place. Thank you, Theo, for sending these in. Safe place. Are you in a safe place? This sounds like a prayer, repeated over and over since February 24th, 2022, to loved ones and friends. I'm asking myself, am I in a safe place? Could I be? Could I be in a safe place when my parents refuse to leave their home but have no air raid shelter beneath their apartment block? The cellar that serves as one looks like it may turn into a mass burial too quickly. Could I be in a safe place when my father, in cancer remission, is not able to walk quickly to a school in the neighborhood that has a proper air raid shelter after all? For those who can run, it takes about 7 minutes to get there. What are his chances? Could I be in a safe place when my nearly blind grandfather can hardly descend a staircase even if guided carefully with no rush? He who fought Nazis in World War II is not afraid of today's Russian fascists. He will outlive them all, he says, then soon to lay in the fertile Ukrainian soil. They haven't bombed your city yet, some say. You are in a safe place. Stop whining. Just air raid sirens several times a day and probably at night. Sometimes none at all. It is safe. Could I be in a safe place when my friends are under constant shelling in Kharkiv, Sumy, Irpin, Busha, unable to leave? When my friends' parents in Chernihiv are out of reach for several days? No more electricity, gas, or roads, they say. Could I be in a safe place when 1,300 have been killed in besieged Mariupol? Today, in the city of Zaporizhia, the beasts, calling themselves Russian soldiers, crashed a civilian car with their tank. A little boy burned to death. Are you in a safe place? It's March 12th, 2022. First published in Gazeta Wyborcza in Poland in April of 2022. Last one from Yuliya Musakovska. Yuliya Musakovska. Metaphors, it's called. Metaphors, such awkward, terrible poems, soaked with rage, controvertible to no beauty in them, no aesthetics. Metaphors, withered and scattered, deprived of blooming, metaphors buried on playgrounds, under hastily made crosses, frozen in unnatural poses, across the thresholds, strewn with dust, cooking food over an open fire in attempt to survive, metaphors dying of dehydration under the rubble, shot in a car under a makeshift white flag, lying on the footpath with motley backpacks on their backs next to their executed pets. Forgive me, but such poems are all I have for you today, ladies and gentlemen, dear estimable spectators in the theater of war. Talk about that, in the theater of war. Yuliya Musakovska. There she is, and there's how you spell her name. Yuliya Musakovska. Okay? You can come back and look at this later on replay and freeze it there if you want to look her up. I got all these poems offline, or from online, so her poetry is available and searchable. I want to read one Mark Kenney poem. I don't know if Mark's here tonight. He had another, hey, Cindy Snyder. Hey, Janine Boggs. My cousin. Yeah. Family. Yeah. Mark wasn't able to make it tonight. He's got a family deal going on somewhere else. Our family deal's happening right here. But I wanted to read this one because I identify with it. Mark said, I have a family birthday dinner for my son-in-law tonight, so if the poetry break is on, I'm probably going to miss this one live, but poetry will survive. Peace to you and Diane in the coming week. Thank you, Mark. Live or Memorex, poetry will survive. So, yeah, after my doctor day, which was good. I mean, it was, I guess I was hoping I had carpal tunnel because there's something you can do about that. But we're still investigating. This is Mark's poem called Making Music for the Soul. Mark has some hand trouble too, kind of comes and goes. My fingers ache with longing now, so much more than pain, though pain remains the mundane order of the day. Less so than weeks gone by, but still, simple daily movement takes its toll. Bend and stretch till feeling like one broken, like one maimed, ashamed of what has come of your ambitions, your simple pleasures of wood and string and sound. Let the tears come for things now lost, but dream of new beginnings. To feel sprightly once more against the bronze, to feel strong and supple when running up the scales, flesh and bone, mind and matter, making music for the soul. There is nothing like it. Not just yet. Not today. But maybe soon. There you go. Mark Kenney. Thank you, Mark. Mr. Reliable. Mark and Theo. Yeah. And the hand, of course. The hand sent one other one in. This is the first one she sent in. She said, I found this poem. It's wonderful. Could you read it at the next poetry break? It's a poem I wrote quite a few years ago. I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 22, 23 miles to the county seat. Yes, sir, yes, sir. Who's going to patronize a little bitty 2x4 kind of store anymore? What do you talk? This is a poem I wrote some years back called Impression. Lori Trout? I need to clear out the pipes, so Lori Trout? Lori? Maybe not. The Lori Trout commemorative shot. There may be 2 or 3 of these tonight. We'll see how things go. Chased with the mystery cup, the soul should stand ajar. The soul should always stand ajar, ready to welcome the ecstatic experience. Supposedly that's Emily Dickinson. Could be a misquote. Might have been taken out of context. Impression by Bad Dog. Impression by Blue Donut. Impression by Big Deal. Okay. Impression. You've impressed yourself writing poems of longing for the life of a younger man. But then you trip seeing their falseness, because only the older man can feel the surge of youth and the longing for it. You are false because what is really impressive is being in the same body and feeling all of it. Apparently the hand like that poem. There you go. Oldmanhood. 1055. Emily Dickinson, number 1055. Thank you, Bill Woolham. All right, he quoted the whole poem there. Goodness gracious. It's nice when you have a literature professor in the audience. Excuse me. That shot of whiskey went down kind of sideways. Oldmanhood, folks. Little skinny, thin pieces of paper. I think we used to call it onion skin, didn't we? Didn't we call it onion skin? A day of doubling down with doctors, because reports don't always agree, nor do normal tests indicate the whole truth of lived experience. A lot of big words for this time in the afternoon on another gloriously cloudy day in Oldmanhood. This is the country of endings, limitations, delicate centerpieces withered to dry paper. Almost whole, but not quite. The body absorbs the strange reports in foreign medical languages, strange and stranger. The pulse of entropy, the first whiff of decay, lab coats for Lazarus. More heat in a room already too hot. All the doctors miss the spot. Insurance insists on one ailment at a time, and the months drag on without pause or patience. Lucky you have poetry to return to. All those pages, the glasses of whiskey, soothing the rough medical news with their heat and bite, contained in the falling form. The body knows that to shift its eyes to the printed page is to shift between universes and find respite in the fallen leaves of books. Still, you are pained by portentous pictures of withering limbs and the smiles of surgeons on their yachts. A slow recitation before bed, a page or two of Whitmanic fire, eases the heart in its reverie and settles the soul to sleep. Last night we talked about what is holy. Scattered across the country from Seattle to St. Augustine, Florida, all went to a Christian liberal arts college back in the late 70s. We've known each other more than 40 years. All associate our sense of the spiritual with the natural world. Trees and birds, wild things, not tame doctrine. We come from Methodists, Baptists, Quakers, Lutherans. None of us goes to church except one who hasn't been back but sees value in the community. His 37 cousins are all devout. More than one of us spoke about trees and flowers, coyotes, bears, wildcats with tame ones on their laps. Does this subject rear its head because of our closeness to death? Or are we just a bunch of deep thinkers searching for a topic that invites it? Grace comes in knowing that it does not matter. The why of anything is accepted as unexplainable, so we can dip right in. All seemed pleased with each response, thoughts gathering like firewood near the flames of our long association. This kind of comfort is the best way to know someone, their weaknesses naked on a cliff somewhere, or plunging into a cold green lake cupped by rocks. What a treasure to love your wife here in Oldmanhood. The one long conversation, lacing the days together with ribbons of laughter and tears. The wet squish of a warm kiss just when you need it. Warm hand and heart beside you at night. She also walks beside you, meets trees you've befriended, sees every smallness you point to. Makes the best soup you ever ate, full of the things old men need to last longer on earth. She makes it fun. She runs the sun. Doesn't ask admission for watching her do magic. She's an organic wizard, born that way. Dazzles me with her card pulls and penetrating astral truths, knows the way into me by virtue of her wizardry, and I say, be my forever guest. As I run out of gas on the page or on the stage, then stay with me anyway. I wonder who that could have been about. Okay, I wrote to my friend Mary Pekka. I said, should I send Mary the original or the carbon? Each are thin little artifacts of a gone time, taken from the homes of dead relations. These pages were rescued blank from Diane's parents' house in Portland during the sadness that precedes loss. Carbon with yellow tissue attached. I'd never seen it before. An inch-thick stack of them. The yellowed white sheets stacked 2 inches high. Heaven for 10 years, assured by people I barely knew. Mary cares about these things. She's got a stack of blank paper on the table by the window where she looks out at her roses. She is Emily Dickinson, Elizabeth Bishop. Through her one-way veil, she sees poetry everywhere the light strikes or shades, the landscape a stanza of short lines, flickering like the leaves she alone believes. I've known her in 6 decades now. Chased her for a time, wanting to taste her shielded sweetness, was rightly rebuffed, but found one fogged window for seeing in, enough to last a lifetime. Enough to call her friend across the tragedies of each fall's leaves and fallen friends remembered. These are the treasures of presence, of piercing eyes and heart opened outward. Oldmanhood. First a page, then I'll watch the leaves drip. They're like a mantra, without rhythm or rhyme, without the benefit of kick, without electricity or cell coverage, without the confirmation of a 24-hour news cycle. Only the long falling rain. There would be Junes like this when I was a kid on the island, salamander season, banana slug trails across last year's fallen leaves. Mantras of drops on the lid of my tent, drippings from the yew tree between showers. Different trees now, different century, different consciousness, approaching the rain, appreciating the rain for different reasons. Yeah. As another atmospheric river moves through Oldmanhood, we all walk around with drippy hats, wide brims to keep the river off our glasses, and the sense of having won a prize. Cautiously optimistic that our town won't burn down. We are safe in our wreckage for another season. We are glad that time happened to us and dropped us here in this small area where things make sense and weather is reassuring. When one knows the ending already, then the time between here and there gets delicate and faceted like the most fragile glass. So you want to be well padded each time you encounter a reminder. We're not as weatherproof as we think we are, and that's a hard fact to accept. Clinging to a rope swing with crippled hands, the river below still high with spring mud, friends to pull you back to the safety of dry grass. The path I take runs from one sheltering tree to another, forming little breaks in the downpour, to rest and shake off rain, to look for blossoms where seeds fell, little birds high and low, their movements quicker than I can think, as if they were always there and always gone. There you go. There's your Oldmanhood hit for the week. Where are we at? We're already at 7:30 now. If I was a judicious poetry breaker, I'd stop right now. But no. There's more. There's more to... You guys... Sounds like water. Is there a leak? Did we forget to flush the... Oh! It's the hand, ladies and gentlemen. The hand. Is this a message for the public? Bridget. Bridget was the gifter of the mystery mugs. Thank you for your love expressed in the poem. Oh, what was this? What is this?
That's for you.
That's for me? Shh. The hand doesn't speak. Thank you, Bridget. Bridget sent the mystery mugs. Emily Dickinson and the one addressed to Diane Davy. Actually, I'm legally Bill Schulstad. You know where the power is here. You know, come on. Hey, here we go. Finn Livingston. Mary Pekka is in the house. Hey, Mary Pekka. We were just talking about you. I guess I don't have to send the letter now. I'm going to send it. Mystery mug from Bridget. Did she also give the other one? Yes, she gave them both. Janine Boggs. Julie Powell. Julie Powell's in the house? I see Val Sanford. Mary Pekka. I hope Julie Powell's in the house. That way I'd have two cousins in the house. Bill Woolham, Val Sanford, Bridget Lacey, Cindy Snyder, Theo from the Couth, Rochelle Hamill, Rick Lewis, Katrina Knight. Yeah, Bubba. Yeah, Bubba. And thank you, Bridget. Mystery mugs. You know, I think that calls for another shot. Me and Keith Richards. Yeah. Someday, you know, if everything goes well here in the Poetry Break, you could see me in the back of a magazine. Official beverage of the Poetry Break. We're going to get our crack advertising team on that right away. David Ignatow. Now, I've had a copy of Say Pardon by David Ignatow ever since I stole it from the Tacoma Public Library. Back in 1979. I think the statute of limitations has run out. My sister now works for the Tacoma Public Library. Don't tell her I said anything. So this is David Ignatow's selected poems, 1934 to 1994. David is no longer with us. He died in 97. But I want to read some of these. David Ignatow's got a unique voice, and it's sometimes kind of, what do I want to say? I want to say brutal, almost. Brutal. But I don't know. See what you think. I want to read several of these because they're fairly short. He's known for writing pretty short stuff. This first one is called Europe and America. And these are poems from the 1940s and a couple from the 1950s. So these are from way back. Europe and America. My father brought the emigrant bundle of desperation and worn threads that in anxiety as he stumbles... Oh, wait a minute. My father brought the emigrant bundle of desperation and worn threads that in anxiety as he stumbles tumble out distractedly while I am bedded upon soft green money that grows like grass. Thus, between my father, who lives on bed of anguish for his daily bread, and I, who tear money at leisure by the roots, where I lie in sun or shade, a vast continent of breezes, storms to him, shadows, darkness to him, small lakes, rough channels to him, and hills, mountains to him, lie between us. My father comes of a small hell where bread and man have been kneaded and baked together. You have heard the scream as the knife fell, while I have slept as guns pounded offshore. Talking about generational experience, generational difference of experience. This one's called East Side West. Now, David Ignatow, lifelong resident of New York City, different boroughs, but always in the city. East Side West, this is called. The stairs squeak like mice caught outside their holes. I notice the stained brown door of my neighbor, perhaps the one whose mailbox I've envied, packed full like a suckling pig. The door sounds with life behind it. The door seems to speak. A mother shrieks at her youngest daughter, snaps at her next oldest child, grumbles to herself of the work, curses the whole bunch around her. Kids, kids, she needs help, lonely for help. A mother, I recall, of 4, her hair braided around hawk features, trailed by those 4 ducklings, she lugs shopping bags in both hands, up 5 flights. The good husband every night at 6 races up the stairs, and his rat-tat on the door demands entrance into his rightful troubles. The door closes behind him and begins to sound with a new tune. Money, the bosses, the working conditions, the other workers, stinks, all stinks. He is lonely for help. I turn the corner to this first floor carefully, so as not to be heard, having stood so long in the hall listening. Up on the next floor, a radio croons with a practiced, honeyed voice. A young girl moans with it off-key. She too takes care of a house. Her mother's dead, 1 baby sister left behind, 4 grown brothers busy on street corners shooting craps. The baby cries and she snaps at it. I have seen her look long passing me on the stairs, as if searching in me for the help she needs. Communion 2, this is called. We're in the 50s now. Let us be friends, said Walt, and buildings sprang up quick as corn, and people were born into them, stock brokers, ad men, lawyers, and doctors, and they contended among themselves that they might know each other. Let us be friends, said Walt. We are one and occasionally two, of which the one is made, and cemeteries were laid out miles in all directions to fill the plots with the old and young, dead of murder, disease, rape, hatred, heartbreak, and insanity, to make way for the new, and the cemeteries spread over the land their white scab monuments. Let us be friends, said Walt, and the graves were opened and coffins laid on top of one another for lack of space. It was then the gravediggers slit their throats, being alone in the world, not a friend to bury. You see what I'm saying? He gets kind of... It's tough. It's tough. Pricing, this is called. The grave needed a stone marker. We picked flint rock from New England, 4 feet high, 3 feet wide, to cover 2 bodies lying side by side, my mother and eventually my father. He stood examining it with us, his son and 2 sons-in-law, in the marble store, and made no comment, other than the weary, grim look of an old man who has lost his wife, his only companion, and himself soon to go, alone now, living among strangers, though they were his kin. An old man shuts himself off. Later, after the purchase, as I drove the car, he tried to say something to convey his mood and failed, saying something hackneyed, conscious of it, and said nothing further until at home, finally, with his daughter, he discussed the price and the stone's color. A lot of times the poems are really short. This is called Business. There is no money in breathing. What a shame I can't pedal my breath for something else. Like what? I wish I knew, but surely, besides keeping me alive, breathing doesn't give enough of a return. This is called The Rockets. For those who'll take my place, I'll leave this peace I devised. I called upon the quiet air of summer, and I sat in the grassy field and examined the daisy. It had made itself without suffering to others, and had found itself a place without the use of force or displacement of others. Reclining on the grass on one elbow, I rose up and walked within range of the guns and the rockets. in the woods. My beard rough as the beginning of things. I'm new today. You won't find me. I'll be in the woods, growing a skin to make friends with the squirrels, the fox, and the puma. You won't catch me. I'll be hidden behind their furry selves and making my own sounds. Look for me in the trees or on the mountains, if you can get away. A little hook there at the end. I want to read that one more time. In the woods. My beard rough as the beginning of things. I'm new today. You won't find me. I'll be in the woods, growing a skin to make friends with the squirrels, the fox, and the puma. You won't catch me. I'll be hidden behind their furry selves and making my own sounds. Look for me in the trees or on the mountains, if you can get away. I want to read that one. I will read that one, but then I'll come out of it. It's called News Report. At 2 a.m., a thing, jumping out of a manhole, the cover flying, raced down the street, emitting wild shrieks of merriment and lust. Women on their way from work, chorus girls or actresses, were accosted with huge leers and made to run, all either brought down from behind by its flying weight, whereat it attacked blindly, or leaping ahead made them stop and lie down. Each, hysterical, has described it her way, one giving the shaggy fur, the next the shank bone of a beast, and a third its nature from which, as it seemed, pus dribbled. When she saw no more, all taking place unnoticed until the first report, hours later, when consciousness was regained, and each, from diverse parts of the city, has a telltale sign, the red teeth marks into the thigh, and the smell of a goat clinging tenaciously through perfume and a bath. You see that? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. For all friends, talking together, we advance from loneliness to where words fall off into space and send up no echo. Looking down for instruction, we gaze into the crease and fold of each other's face. We are falling, our flesh aged by life's upward force. Our words are buried in the falling air. Deep in the ground, we will be one with our words, for earth too falls toward eternity. For all friends, talking together, we advance from loneliness to where words fall off into space and send up no echo. Looking down for instruction, we gaze into the crease and fold of each other's face. We are falling, our flesh aged by life's upward force. Our words are buried in the falling air. Deep in the ground, we will be one with our words, for earth too falls toward eternity. The reward. They who love me stand in my way of being taken care of and fondled. They call on me for help. I am afraid, after all, that to scream and rant will be my downfall. They will see me coming and run, and I will die of loneliness. And so you see, either accompanying my wife on her walks or in my aged father's business, and no one would know that I am impatient, least of all my friends who come to me with their thoughts. I embrace them, shielding myself with their presence. Yeah. Where was that one I was looking for? It's this tiny little... Oh, here we go. Okay. Content. It's called content. It's called content. Content. I should be content to look at a mountain for what it is and not as a comment on my life. I love that. David Ignatow is his name. Against the Evidence. Selected Poems. 1934-1994. I got one more poet for you. Sorry. You thought you could escape now. But we got a little Campbell McGrath. A little study in what? I don't know. I got two of these I want to read to you. The first two poems from Kingdom of the Sea Monkeys. Poems by Campbell McGrath. We'll come back to Campbell McGrath because this guy, you know how they say don't mince words? This guy minces words, but to great musical effect. And he's been doing it for a long time. I first got introduced to Campbell McGrath through a book called American Noise. He's also got a book called Spring Comes to Chicago, the Bob Hope poem. If anybody hasn't heard of the Bob Hope poem, you got to read the Bob Hope poem. He's a, what is he? He's a cultural commentator and amazingly musical poet. This one is called Books. Books live in the mind like honey inside a beehive, that ambrosial archive, each volume sealed in craft-made paper, nutritive cells, stamen fragrant, snug as apothecary jars. Like fossilized trilobites, or skulls in torchlit catacomb beneath an ancient city, Byzantium or Ecbatana, or Paris at the end of April when vendors set their folding tables filled with lily of the valley beside every metro entrance, and the women coming home from work or market, scented already with the fugitive perfume of Mugger, carry hand-held bouquets like pale tapers through the radiant, rain-washed streets at sunset. And then it is night, half the world ruled by dreams from which arise narrative forms, riddles, fables, myths, as mist lifts from mountain valleys in autumn, as steam belches from fumaroles in benthic trenches, to those sulphuric cones strange life forms cling. Chrome-green crabs and eyeless shrimp, soft-legged starfish, sung to sleep by that curious cousin of the hippopotamus, the whale, who, having first evolved from ocean to land in the ever-eventful Cretaceous, thought better of it, returning after millions of years to scholarly contemplation in the mesomorphic, metaphysical library of the sea. Joyce Hyatt. Hey, Joyce. Pauline Jones. Jeff Steve. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Jeff. I heard you had a nice visit with Bill. That's cool. Where are you now? You can't be home already. Life is good when Willem is in the house. Oh, they're together. Are you guys really together? That's so cool. Well, Bill, if Willem was in the house or recently in the house, he was recently in this house, too. Bill Willem was. Bill Willem is like a patron saint of poetry. So, speaking of patron saints of poetry, this poem, which I'll close with tonight, is called Emily and Walt. I suppose we did not want for love. They were considerate parents, if a bit aloof. Or more than a bit. He was a colossus of enthusiasms, none of them us, while she kissed our heads and mended socks with a wistful, far-away look. She might have been a little, well, daft, and he, allons, my little ones, he'd laugh, then leave without us. And those friends of his. Anyway, He's gone off to discover himself in San Francisco or wherever, while she retired to the condo in Boca. We worry, but she says she likes it in Florida. She seems almost happy. I suppose they were less caregivers than enablers. They taught by example, reading for hours in the drafty house, and now the house is ours, with its drawers full of junk and odd lines of verse and stairs that ascend to God knows where, belfries and gymnasia, the chapel, the workshop, aviaries, atria. We could never hope to fill it all. Our voices are too small for its silences, too thin to spawn an echo. Sometimes, even now, when the night wind blows into the chimney flue, I start from my bed, calling out, "Hello? Mom and Dad, is that you?" Emily and Walt. Campbell McGrath. I gotta show you. This is one of my favorite covers to a book of poems. Campbell McGrath has a book called Spring Comes to Chicago. There's the cover. Spring Comes to Chicago. This is the book that's got the Bob Hope poem in it. He writes a lot of travelogue poems, but they're all in that big Whitmanic line, that long Whitmanic line. So he is, when he talks about Walt, he knows what he's talking about, because that's the lineage from which Campbell McGrath comes. I always thought that young people should be taught poetry starting with the most contemporary and then working backward in time, so that, well, Campbell McGrath has been around for a while, but, if you want somebody to understand Walt Whitman, you start with Campbell McGrath. You go from Campbell McGrath to Allen Ginsberg, and you give some historical context. Then from Allen Ginsberg, you can go back to Walt Whitman, giving historical context. That's how you teach poetry. Like I know anything about that. Thanks, you guys, for coming. Thanks for hanging out. I'm sorry if it was a little weird tonight. Thank you, Bridget and Jeff, Val, Bill, Joyce, Paula, all the peeps that are here tonight, Katrina. I didn't do an event this week, okay? So here's the difference. I didn't do a Facebook event because I feel like that might confuse people. People think they can enter through the event. Now, that may be true with some people. Doing the Facebook Live thing creates a real problem with the program that I am using. So I've always I go straight into the live stream. You have to refresh my page a few times. Once you see the Poetry Break is Live thing on my cover photo, then you scroll down into the page and you look for that little live window. I hate the idea that people come and can't find their way in. I thought this was a simpler way, and I could be completely wrong. I've thought about doing a YouTube. I've thought about moving to YouTube, because YouTube is pretty easy. I could post a YouTube link, you'd click on it in Facebook, boom, you're in YouTube, and it would count down, and at 7 o'clock, we're live, whether we're ready or not. What do you think of that idea? I don't know. YouTube is a different kind of an algorithm. I like Facebook because I can go back afterwards and respond to comments. You can't do that. You can still comment as the thing is streaming on YouTube, and the comments can be saved so that if someone is watching it later, they can see the comments scrolling by. But they can't add to the comments. And I going back later and watching myself, can't respond to the comments. So that's always what's kept me from doing it direct to YouTube. But I certainly could. Maybe that would be better. I don't know. Thank you for being here, regardless. Thanks to everybody who is writing in with poems. Remember, it's poetrybreak22@gmail.com. If you've got a poem from your childhood that you remember, or something that has resonated with you since middle school, the last time you were educated about poetry. As long as it's not the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, any of the four quartets I would be happy to read. Ooh, we should read some four quartets some night. That's the only T.S. Eliot I really, really love. And The Wasteland, I've got the Norton Critical Edition of The Wasteland. It's a book this thick for a poem that's about 6 pages long. Really? Is it necessary? You know, it's like the Billy Collins thing. You strap the poem to a chair. You got a rubber hose. You got a bright light. What do you mean? What are you about? You know. Do we have to do that? Do we have to torture the poem? I don't know. There you have it. That's the editorial comment for this evening. I appreciate you guys. Have a poetic week. See you next time around.